Hello, Just2Film here, and I just wanted to do a little video going over the Cannes Film Festival 2025 announcements for what's going to be shown there. This is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest film festival of the year, and a lot of the films that will be shown here will show up at, say, Toronto International Film Festival, New York Film Festival, which I do plan on going this year, and then a lot of those end up being Oscar nominations if you care about the Oscars. And there's so many directors who I love who have new films here. So I'll just tell you which ones stand out to me. And here's a few things. First off, I'm going to try not to pronounce things that I know I can't pronounce. There's so many French names here and other names in different languages. And I suck at pronouncing stuff in general. And then the second thing is really my hype would be, oh, is there a filmmaker I know behind it? That's it. I can't get as hyped if I don't know any of the reviews or anything because none of these have been, seen yet. And I avoid summaries of things, though you will see here and there that I'll point out some things where I'm like, oh, I kind of know this about the film. Try not to spoil anything. But yeah. So opening film will be Leave One Day. I do not know the director of this, so I have nothing to say there. Competition, The Phoenician Scheme by Wes Anderson. I am a huge Wes Anderson fan where I've seen all of his movies and I don't think there's any of his movies that I don't like. At the very least, they're all 6 out of 10s. My favorites would be Grand Budapest, which I love. I think that's like a 9 out of 10. I also would probably give the same rating to Isle of Dogs and Fantastic Mr. Fox. Those three are my favorites. And then there's like Moonrise Kingdom, which I adore as well. It's probably like an 8. So there's many movies he made that I love. His most recent film, Asteroid City, I really liked. I thought that was really good. Was it one of my favorites from him? No, but it was still really good. And then before that was French Dispatch, which might have been one of my least favorites from him. Again, not a bad movie, but I was just kind of like, eh. So I don't know. I'm super hyped by this one because not only is it a new Wes Anderson film, but we have a trailer from a few days ago, and I tried to avoid the trailers and stuff like that, but I couldn't resist this one. And from what I saw, it looked very fun and it looked beautiful. He has a distinct style, so a lot of his films look similar in how they're framed, how they use colors and everything there, but I think they all give distinct experiences. So I'm super hyped for that. And I think, is it Benicio del Toro is like the main star of this? Next is Eddington by Ari Aster, who did Hereditary, who did Midsommar, who did Beau is Afraid. I loved all those films when I saw them, and I haven't seen them since. I've only seen them once in theaters, each of them. And I gotta do a rewatch of all his stuff, especially before this movie comes out. So I will be doing that soon, so stay tuned to Letterboxd. But yeah, this might be like, the most hyped I've been for one of his movies. But then again, I was really hyped for Beau is Afraid. The first two I wasn't hyped for, but I heard good things about them. I'm like, oh wow, that was awesome. And Beau is Afraid, again, I loved when I saw it, but I haven't seen it since. I think there's an old review on this channel. But yeah, for Eddington, here's one I know a little bit about. I know it's set in 2020. That gets me hyped. I really haven't had a COVID lockdown movie that has been great. I'm trying to think of any. I mean, the closest would be like, what was it called? It was by a trans woman, and I forgot it. This movie. There won't be that much editing in this, but I'll put the poster there. But yeah, I love seeing contemporary films set in contemporary times or with recent events. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I love that. And, get political with it. And this is I think this is a movie that's starring Joaquin Phoenix. It's starring Pedro Pascal. It's starring Emma Stone, from my understanding, which I love all of those actors and actresses. So I am very, very hyped for this. And I can't wait to see what Ari Aster puts on screen because we've only seen those 3 movies from him and they're very distinct experiences. So I can't even imagine what this one's going to be. Then we got Young Mothers by Jean-Pierre Dardenne and Luc Dardenne. This is a directing duo that might be my favorite. I mean, I love the Coen brothers and I love the Dardenne bros. And I love the Safdie bros. They're all brothers. But yeah, I have been on a kick for rewatching the Dardenne Bros movies because I've seen all of them, except if you look at the Dardenne Bros filmography, it's interesting because their first 2 films, which I think one was from the early 90s, one was from the late 80s, were apparently completely different from all their narrative films that followed. Because they also did a lot of documentaries. And I haven't seen anything before their first prominent narrative film, which was La Promise from '95. So that style before, I'm not really sure. I've only read up about how they are, and I heard they're very bad. So I haven't even bothered to check those out. But, 95 was La Promise, which is a movie I cannot recommend enough. And I don't know why it only has like, I don't know, 1,600 watches on Letterboxd, I think it is. It's ridiculous how underwatched it is. And it has like a Criterion. And I think it won some awards at Cannes back in the day. I might be wrong. So I don't know why nobody's seen it. But that's a movie that you could show a lot of people. Like, it's very accessible. And I think people would love it. And it's one of my favorite movies. And I just rewatched it recently. Loved it when I first saw it, and I loved it when I rewatched it. It's a very short movie. It's 90 minutes. So go check out La Promise. Love that movie to death. But then I rewatched Rosetta, which is their second film, which I think did win the Palme d'Or back in '99. Love that film to death. And then it's funny because I liked Rosetta more on rewatch than I did back in the day. I rewatched L'Enfant, and here you go with the horrible pronunciations. That was a great film, and I think that might have won Palme d'Or as well. But their most famous film was probably like 2 Days, One Night, which did get like, I think, a Best Actress nom at the Oscars. And other than that, I can't really think of much times where their films were recognized for Oscar awards, Academy Awards. So that's pretty interesting. But I love so many of their movies. Kid with a Bike's awesome. The most recent one was Tori and Lokita, which I had like imported DVD of. That was good. It was solid, but I think like their past couple movies haven't been amazing. But even then, when I say haven't been amazing, they're like solid sevens, and they're fantastic filmmakers. So I can't wait to see what they do with Young Mothers. And it's easily like my most hyped movie of the year, along with probably Eddington and then the Paul Thomas Anderson movie, which is not going to be at Cannes as far as we know, which is interesting. So yeah. Next is Alpha by Julia Ducournau. Can't ever say their name right, but I love Titane. Titane's a fantastic movie. I wish got more recognition, even at like say the Oscars and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a great movie that talks about gender, and it does it in a very interesting way. And I thought it was shot very well, and it has a great energy to it. Very disturbing movie. And before that, there was Raw, which was pretty good. But yeah, she's only done like, 3 movies solo, this being her third one with Alpha. So I'm super hyped to see what Alpha is all about. And then there's Renoir. Don't know anything about that one. History of Sound. Now, this is from a director I haven't seen anything of, but they were nominated for Living, which I heard Living was good, but it was also like a remake of that classic Kurosawa film, which I haven't seen, so I didn't end up seeing Living. So I don't really know if I'll be hyped for this or not. But yeah, people are predicting this is going to be like a Best Picture nomination already, so who knows. La Petite you're going to skip pronouncing that. Don't know who that is. Seurat, I don't know who that is. New Wave, well, I do know who Richard Linklater is. And yeah, I'm trying to think, is there any Richard Linklater films I love? I loved Waking Life when I was younger, and I haven't seen it since. I don't love the Before trilogy, but I do like it a lot. I gotta rewatch that. Maybe it'll connect to me more now. I've seen other ones like Slacker. I've seen his most recent film, Hitman. They were fine. But yeah, I don't have much hype for this one in particular because it's about the making of Breathless. And I haven't seen Breathless. I know it's a classic film that I haven't seen. There's a lot of classic sore spots I have. I do focus a lot on contemporary cinema, and I do gotta watch a lot more classic films. So that's a sore spot on my end. But yeah, maybe once I watch that, which I'll try to watch that before I get the opportunity to watch this, I'll have more of an insight into, I really want to see this from Richard Linklater. But for now, I'm just kind of like, Two Prosecutors by Sergei Laznista. I'm not familiar with. That name sounds familiar. Fury, not familiar with. The Secret Agent, not familiar with. Dossier 137, not familiar with. It Was Just an Accident, or A Simple Accident, by Jafar Panahi. Now, I do know Jafar. I saw Taxi and I saw The Mirror, and that was like a couple of years ago. I thought they were pretty good, but that's like the best I could say with them. So I am not sure if this is something that I'm like super hyped for, but I will definitely check it out if I get the chance at like, TIFF or whatever. I know it's about like an accident and then the consequences of that. So let's hope it's better than Crash. But yeah, I don't know. The Mastermind by Kelly I can never say her name right, but I do love Kelly. I've seen most of her films. It's funny because I don't think I've seen like two of her most popular, which was like Meek's Cutoff and The Cow, I think, or First Cow or something. But I have a soft spot for a lot of her other films, Wendy and Lucy, Night Moves, Showing Up. So yeah, I am very interested in the mastermind. I love that she's a director who I think like her past couple of films have done like a new movie every 3 years, and she's keeping that up for 2025 release. And I don't know why, but that like spatial number where it's like, okay, 3 years do this, 3 years do that, 3 years do that, 3 years do that, kind of sticks out in my mind, and I find that impressive. So I'm very hyped for the mastermind. Agile of the Republic, don't know. Sound of Falling, I don't know anything about, but I've seen a lot of hype for this today, and I'm like, look, it has a cool name, and there was like one screenshot release, but let's calm down. Let's hear how it's received. I know it's in competition, but you know, I looked up the director, and I'm like, it seemed like their last movie, which they only had one other movie, was not well received. So I don't know if the hype's unfounded, but who knows? You know, I'm getting hyped for a lot of these directors' films, and I haven't seen them. But I don't know if this is guaranteed to be a best picture just yet. So we'll have to wait and see. Romeria, not sure who that is. And then Sentimental Value by Joaquin Trier. Do love me some Joaquin Trier. The Worst Person in the World, one of my favorite movies of all time. Oslo, August 31st, one of my favorite movies of all time. Reprise, I don't like. And then Louder Than Bombs, I don't like. So it's a weird director where like half of his films I like and then the other half I don't like. But I didn't see like, he has like one more film, I think it's called Thelma, which I haven't seen. But yeah, I'm super hyped for this because his latest film was Worst Person in the World, and I freaking love that. And I think the main star Worst Person in the World, who I love from like other films, like she was even in like A Different Man recently, is in this film. So I'm super hyped for that. In certain regard, The Mysterious Gaze of the Flamingo, not familiar with the filmmaker. Meteors, not familiar with the filmmaker. My Father's Shadow, not familiar with the filmmaker. Not familiar with that filmmaker and can't even say the name. Urchin, directed by Harris Dickinson, which, okay, I guess he's directing movies now. We will see some more famous actors, actresses nominated here because I saw another one earlier. Homebound, not familiar with the director. A Pale View of Hills, not familiar with the director. There you go. Eleanor the Great by Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson has a movie coming out. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how that turns out. But yeah, I don't know. Actors and actresses turned directors can work out well, but usually their first film is rough, and I'm just basing it off of like, I remember like Jesse Eisenberg's first film was rough, and then a lot of people loved A Real Pain, which I thought was pretty fun. So who knows? Caravan, don't know who that director is. Fillion, don't know who that director is. Aisha Can't Fly, don't know what that director is. Once Upon a Time in Gaza, don't know who those directors are. The Plague, don't know who those directors are. Promised Sky, don't know who those directors are. The Last One for the Road, don't know who that director is. And Heads or Tails, don't know who that director is. Out of competition, Colors of Time, not sure who that director is. The Richest Woman in the World, not sure who that director is. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. And people will be like, what? This is premiering at Cannes? Well, I mean, you know, a lot of films premiere at Cannes were like Indiana Jones 5 premiered at Cannes out of competition. So it's not like a complete rarity when you have a big Hollywood film premiering there. Personally, I don't really care about Mission Impossible. I liked it more when I was younger, but that's a movie where a lot of them blend in together for me. And they have very boring stories, and they're usually overlong. Cool stunts, though. You know, it's kind of what I felt about Top Gun Maverick. Via Privy, don't know who that director is. Highest to Lowest by Spike Lee, premiering out of competition. That's the other Kurosawa remake that we'll talk about in this video. It's a remake of High to Low, which I haven't seen yet, which I should see because I only hear good things about that. Spike Lee, I've seen so many movies from, and there's few I really like from his stuff. I know that's an unpopular opinion. I mean, my favorite of all his stuff is Bamboozled, which is probably also an unpopular opinion, but I do really love that movie. I gotta rewatch it though. It's just so audacious, but I feel like it's a very unique experience. and it's also very funny, but also very sad. But yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of Do the Right Thing. Yeah, don't tell anybody. I like it, but I don't know. I gotta rewatch it. Maybe once I rewatch it, I'll love it. But yeah, a remake from Spike Lee of a acclaimed film. Old Boy. So I'm not really running out to see this one. And if I do see it, like I said, with Living, which we mentioned earlier in the video, even though it's not a con, I will have to see High to Low first. So yeah, special screening, Bono Stories of Surrender by Andrew Dominik. Oh, Andrew Dominik is, he did Blonde, which is, he did the assassination of Jesse James, right? Yeah. By the coward Robert Ford. I think it's Ford. I don't know, I haven't seen that one, but I do love his, what is it called? It's paining me that I don't remember this. What is it? I don't remember. But this film, I do love this film by him. So there's that. Tell Her That I Love Her. Not sure who that director is. In a Magnificent Life. Not sure who that director is. The Residents. Not sure who that director is. Exit 8. I know one of my friends said that that's like based off a video game, and it's very interesting what's going on there. Sons of the Neon Night. Not sure who that director is. Con Premier. Amroom. Not sure that director is. Splitsville. Okay. Yes. This is crazy. So this guy right here, Michael Angelo Covino, he directed The Climb from 2019, which is one of my favorite films, honestly. Like, go check out The Climb. Extremely underrated and also a very accessible film. Like, you could show this to people who aren't super into film and they'll probably enjoy it. It's like some very long takes. Like, I think it's like 3 long takes or something, or maybe 4 long takes. And it's just about a friendship, and it explores very interesting characters. It feels very real, and the filmmaking is very impressive. I love that film, and it's very short. I think it's like 90 minutes. So go check out The Climb. So I'm super hyped for Splitsville. I'm like, I didn't even know about this until this list came out, and I'm like, yeah, this is one of my most hyped movies of the year now. So I can't wait for that. The Wave by Sebastian Lelio. Sebastian Lelio, he did A Fantastic Woman, which is a pretty darn good movie about a trans woman. Does it fall into a lot of trans stereotypes? Yeah, here and there. Like, I got to do a video on it sometime, but I don't think it's harmful, really, like, compared to, like, a Danish Girl or a Amelia Perez. I really love that movie, but the thing with his stuff is I haven't seen any of his other films. I think he did, like, the 2 Gloria Bells, and he did, like, a lesbian film or 2. And I've heard from people who are trustworthy that he kind of does, like, catches in on, minorities, like, oh, here's a trans woman movie, here's a lesbian movie, while being outside the community. It kind of got to a point where his movies just kind of felt tired at one point. But I don't know how true that is, and I gotta watch more of his filmography. So I will see this, but I want to see a little bit more of his filmography, because it's like, well, I can't be super hyped for this if he has all these other films on his disposal that I haven't seen yet, Like with a lot of the other directors I've been hyped for in this video, I've seen like all their other films or most of their other films. Orwell 2 + 2 = 5 by Raoul Peck. Raoul Peck did I Am Not Your Negro, which is a solid documentary that a lot of people love. I thought it was pretty good. I was almost at the point where I was like, I'd rather read the text that they're reading here. But yeah, I'm interested to check this out. And then we have The Disappearance of Joseph Mengele by Krill. Can't even pronounce that name. Don't know that director. And I think that is it. So what a list. But yeah, my most hype would be the Dardenne Bros movie and Eddington. And then third hype would be, the Titane director's movie. So lots of missing ones here. No Begonia. So no, what is it called? Yorgos Lanthimos. No PTA. But there were rumors before the festival, like, announcement was lined up that those won't be showing up anyway, so I'm not, like, surprised. So yeah, I am super hyped for this festival. Hope to go one day, but at the very least, I'll check these out as they trickle into TIFF. So let me know if any of these stand out in the comments below. And sorry for maybe not as in-depth edited video. I've just been so busy. I'll see you later. Peace out. Bye.